going from the end of the Lloyd Circle to Briggs Street is, I think like maybe 300 feet left before we complete it. We're just waiting for some back ordered parts that were supposed to be in today. The sewer, we have about 800 feet left to do. It is tied into the interceptor. It is on our road. We just got a small section of the easement to do. So, and somebody from this department's been there every day that we're working. One guy for water, one guy for sewer. So it's been great. They've been very helpful and worked with us on, you know, like he said, sometimes you got to make some minor changes that because of, you know, and again, we're using this new pipe that different restraints. It's a little bit different. So, you know, we're working with the manufacturer on things like that and working with keeping these guys informed on what we, you know, what's best for everybody. You know, we strive to build a better mousetrap every day. So that being said, back in the planning stages of this, we initially had proposed an interior loop from one road to the other in our subdivision. And I guess, I don't know, completely know how it evolved, but you know, it was whether it was suggested by you guys or us to loop this to Briggs Street, which I know nothing about. You know, that's her department, but I know nothing about how water, you know, planning goes. But it just seems, you know, boy, we're getting water from here over to completely another side of town, or you know, a bigger distance.
It's a problem area, and to loop something as opposed to a
Just
dead
seemed
end,
like
it's to keep the water moving.
Right. It seems logically to me it makes sense. Yeah. But, and again, we obviously, you know, we wanted to get our project approved. You know, we agreed to that, but it doesn't come without an expense. And you know, I'm just shooting from the hip. I know I incurred way north of $100,000 in additional monies to do that. You guys don't owe me anything, but if you can see your way clear to helping me on these hookup fees, to try to overcome that, you know, you got $250,000 fees to tie in out on Pine Street. If we could somehow, you know, do it 25 for each one, it would be greatly appreciated. I don't know if there's any way you could do something like that. I mean, I did do a little math, not counting anybody's money, but you know, we got $861,000 in fees coming from this project between water and sewer, not counting the hookups to Pine Street. So it's a lot of money. I'm just trying to absorb a little bit of what it cost me to try to make the system better for everybody. Again, it does benefit me, but
it benefits us too.
Yeah,
the loop benefits us.
It should.
It does. And
you know,
that was something we have done.
And it helped. You know, I mean, nothing, but you know, like now Briggs Street is not a dead end.
Right.
You know, I think we asked for that too. We brought that up.
Yeah, and we want to loop everything we can.
So obviously, and I mean, again, initially, I guess we could, you know, we were going to go from road to road internally and never go near Briggs Street.
Yeah.
But so you know, you don't even. I mean, there's not even a hydrant at the end of Briggs Street. So now you're gonna have a hydrant right at the very end.
Yeah.
You know, it's just it's gonna be a nice system. So, so anyways,
It sounds like the cost incurred on your end to make that happen a little greater than what you're asking for a reduction.
more than double
fees.
more than double. Exactly.
Have we done this in the past? And we have done this in
The
the past?
board has
Okay.
approved either a discounted rate
Okay.
or waived a connection fee to get another connection fee. It's part of the infrastructure improvement wording that we have in our rules and regulations. It's at the discretion of the board if they feel the value is there, or if it was going to be a standard requirement from the beginning. This, I believe, is above and beyond. They could have met the loop requirement either way from going Pine to Briggs, the leg that goes over, connecting the loop to Briggs as well.
They kind of hooked us up by doing that. So
I think I don't have any problem. What the number is, I'm not sure we need to discuss that, but I don't have a problem with helping this out, going forward, because this really helped us out, that whole area.
So do you have someone at the breakdown of the $816,000 worth of fees? Oh, okay, a memo on. So you got 44 lots, or 43 lots. at 4,500 each for the water. There's one lot, it's 43, right?
Yep, the other one out front.
Right, so that comes out to 193.5. My math is right. Your math is right, but wrong the second time.
It was the second time, and it's
Couple $1,000. I think, maybe I'm wrong, okay, but it's 193,000 is what I came up with. And then you've got, what is the sewer, 15,400,
15.4 for a 4-bedroom.
15,400 times 44 lots, be 667.6. And then you had two $50,000 hookup fees, which would be another 100.
So any relief that would be granted would have to be specifically for water because of the two separate enterprise accounts.
Right, right. So in addition to all that, there's the two. In addition to the
No, that's it.
800,000, that's the.
Oh, in addition to the 8, yeah, it would be 961 is what
Right,
your total between water and
so
sewer.
those water connection fees are the one we're here discussing whether you.
So the water connection fees would be 193.5 plus another 100 for the two 8-inch hookups.
So would we abate one of those two or half of each of them? How would that even, you do that?
The cleanest way would be to remove one.
Just take one of them out,
It's
accomplish the same thing. That's what you're asking basically. is for-
Yeah.
for them off.
However you do it.
Those two
Waive
fees,
those.
whatever.
Yeah.
waive
And
the,
then-
yeah, one of
Water
the 8-inch
connection.
capping fees.
Right.
Yeah,
Connection,
on
yeah.
Pine Street,
Yeah.
yeah, the 8-inch connection. It's a subdivision fee, but yeah. That would be the cleanest way to do
Waive
it.
the water, yeah, waive the water.
Yeah, waive one of the water fees, right?
Yeah.
But to specify which one's being
I
waived.
don't think it has to be specified. I mean, there's only one in right now, if you really want to put it to that road.
That's for an 8-inch tap, is that what that is?
50,000 per 8-inch subdivision tap, correct?
Yes, I want to add it. I don't have a problem with doing that in the interest of the infrastructure improvement that we're getting off this whole thing in the first place.
What's your take, Fred?
I have no issues, either way. It's a benefit to the town, it's a benefit to the department. It's gonna be, utilized now that, again, after the peer review, we've come up with ideas that, we will have hydrants in the cross-country sections. So that'll benefit us with our flushing program and our isolation, when we need to, giving us an area to put water where it's not gonna impact, impose on residents while we're doing that job. It seems to be a win.
And he's also only asking for half of it anyway. It's not like.
Mhm.
That whole thing. So I'm good to go with that. So you,
Oh, yeah, without question, yeah, I don't,
all right, then I would like to make a motion to waive a single $50,000 dollar connection fee for the Balfour Farms project.
I second.
all in favor?
Water connection fee, that is to say.
Yep.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so now the other thing that I'm looking for help on is how we pay the fees. I mean, and I'm not, typically how we pay it is we pay the fees when we pull a building permit. We're not asking for any services or any benefits from the system until we pull a building permit. I don't know if you can see your way clear to, we pay you the sewer, we pay you the water every time we pull a building permit.
So the reason this is being asked is Norton is a little bit different. So typically with a subdivision, once everything is approved by the board, we have a dollar amount that's assessed, obviously. You heard what the numbers are there for water and sewer. That bill would immediately be generated after the vote to approve the plans to move forward. The contractor or the builder would actually fill out the paperwork for each of those permits. Each would be separate. You'd have the 8-inch connections to the street that would have a number associated with it. And then they would also have to go to the fire department to get new home addresses for each of the lots. When the addresses are created, those numbers are based on the house layout and the street name are added to the town's computer system. And then when an applicant submits the application for, say it's 1 Green Drive, go into the system, make sure that everything has been paid for, it's approved, you sign off on the permit, they go and get the building permit. Without having that lead already in place, there's no way to reference that location. We can't do it by map and parcel, we can't do it, by just a lot number, it has to have a physical address. So this is where it's a little bit different. Again, we're dealing with an actual subdivision that's being built, not an apartment complex that would have one large water main coming in and one address with multiple residences.
So those parcels don't have numbers associated with them right now?
They have not been separated by and given physical addresses yet. They have streets.
They have a lot of these.
Got a lot of
Is that, and that poses a problem when it comes to, recognizing
We
and
cannot create an
fees?
account based on a lot number, because
Okay.
more than likely the house address is different from the lot number. And that's where you
Oh.
start getting into problems.
How hard would it be to attach a number and a street name and a number to it?
That's just something that has to be done by the fire department. We don't have access to
Oh,
that.
that's their,
The fire department
okay.
determines the address,
Okay,
and obviously the name's already in place. So that's where the disconnect is. Typically in the past, the developer would pay all these fees up front, provide us with all the paperwork, so that the accounts are created in-house here. What Al is possibly looking to do is actually just finish the substructure and sell off the lots to somebody else, and have them pay the water connection fee and the sewer connection fee that's due for that particular address as it's sold.
So we wouldn't get any of those fees until somebody.
Well, it's gonna, yeah, right now, full disclosure, we have an agreement to sell, let me back up. What I do is I buy land, I permit it, I build the roads, and I sell house lots. I sell it with all the site work done, so I'm there through the whole, till the end. I don't just build the roads and go away, we're there through the end.
Yep.
In this particular case, a lot of times I do that with one, a half a dozen builders that buy 2 lots, 1 lot, 3 lots, and just work our way through it. In this case here, we were approached by a national company, Pulte Homes, who they have an agreement to buy it.
So they're already sold,
Well, agreement.
an agreement to.
We're going through the whole, being a public company that's
Big company.
due diligence that we're
Yeah,
going through is that's gonna be over in 2 more weeks. And then so yes, it looks like it's a go. So in their first takedown, they're gonna take 22 lots, half of it. And then they're gonna take another 22 in 24 months, or if they sell sooner. So they're obviously prepared to, pay for. I don't wanna pay for these fees, because that's, when they go pull a building permit, they gotta pay for water health, they gotta pay, whatever the building permit fee is. In this case, it would be a water fee, a sewer fee, whatever they gotta pay. There's a litany of things they gotta go through to get a building permit. So I don't think it's definitely not out of the ordinary. I know it's out of the ordinary the way your system is set up, but every town we work in, or, it basically we pay for services as we take them, right? And in this case, especially when you take a number of $861,000, it's a big, especially there's not even a road in front of some of these lots, right?
So one thing that John and I were talking about that as a possibility, and again, would be billing for the 8-inch subdivision connection that's in place now. That would, once paid, allow us to liven the water main, liven the hydrants in there, so that as building went on, there's obviously firefighting, apparatus in place that could be used. If the board approves the basically pay when you sell type deal, we would definitely want to have that in writing. So that the next person that comes in and says, well, I purchased this lot, or I purchased this parcel, it doesn't have, or it does have water and sewer available, we would have something in writing to say, this money's due to
I
us.
mean, that's all right in your MOU, right?
It could go in the MOA.
Yeah.
This is just what just needs to be worked
Yeah,
out.
I would imagine goes on with your negotiations with the people you're selling your land to.
But whenever we sell land, it's always, you go get your permit, because we don't know what you're building for a house, we don't know, so it's always the permits are on whoever we sell the land to. So that's kind of why, that's another one of the reasons that we want to do it this way. But he makes a good point, we definitely want fire protection. Definitely want to get this thing, we don't want water sitting in that main, we want it moving, so it'll immediately be open to Briggs Street, and that will be
Once
able
it's
to
over
enjoy it.
even without the houses there, it should be moving.
Oh, it definitely will be.
And
So-
again, we just don't, like Al said, we don't want stagnant water, there's not fire protection there. the other formalities, I think, can get worked out as long as everything is in writing and everybody understands, that it's gonna be paid for over time as the place gets built out, whether it's by Al or by somebody else.
So the only thing that I would say about that, and this really isn't Al's concern, it's who's buying the parcels?
Pulte.
Pulte's concern is what happens when we do a rate study and the sewer increase per property tie-in fee goes up.
Yeah.
So is it in Pulte's best interest to buy the properties from Al and cut us a check for every
We
sewer and water
We
connection?
broached that to him. I don't know
No, I know, like I said, I know that's not your problem,
Right.
but,
how often do you do that?
we haven't done it in a long time and it's been something it's very, very overdue.
It's ready.
Yeah.
So,
So that's something I can mention to them, and maybe they.
So that means they could pay
They
their
could cut a check.
connection fee and sell the lot 40 years from now after the fee's gone up, but they've already,
They've already locked
They've already
in.
paid
I think they would need to have addresses. But
Well, we're gonna get address regardless. because
Exactly.
We don't wanna, we're right now getting ready to do site plans for individual lots, and we don't wanna do site plans. I don't know how town hall works here, but every other town, they don't want lot numbers, they want addresses. Cause it gets too confusing to use lot numbers, and when you get, because an address stays with that property forever, and it, even right in your department, you don't want a lot number, so what does that mean to you?
exactly. So if all 43, 44, whatever it is, have addresses, it would probably be worth it for them to pay us up front for all of them. I mean, if they're a national company, it shouldn't be an issue for them to cut that check. So, again, not your concern at all, Al,
That's
but
something we definitely
um,
can pass that
that's
along,
what I
you
would
know.
say.
So on our end,
And that way we're not worrying about keeping track of every one before it's approved. Yep, building permit comes through. Yep, all their permits are paid. We just need to make sure they're inspected when they tie into the house. That's it.
you guys see anything
So-
mental about,
I don't, it's just whether we're gonna allow this pay as parcels were sold. I can't imagine that's gonna sit there for very long before, a year from now, 2 years, it's gonna be full of houses.
Oh, no, they're starting, I mean, we're slated to close on the property with them in March.
Yeah,
So
so
they'll be
that's what I'm saying, it's not like we're gonna
they're
get to
not-
wait around 5 years to let the trees, we're
No,
gonna get.
there'll be 5 houses going up immediately.
So-
You could also not even have to talk about the pay as you go, but say the water and sewer connection fees are due to us by this company buying the parcels, not.
Well, but you see, the building permit is the safest thing for the town to ensure into this board,
Yeah, because
to make sure, because it stops right there. You don't pay your water, you don't pay your sewer, you don't pay whatever fees, you don't get a building permit. So it doesn't matter if it's Pulte or if it's, John Brown. The building permit is what I think needs to be,
So the motion would be to require the connection fees upon the building. permit
before a
for
building permit
each individual parcel.
before a building permit is issued.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that and, just to pay for that one connection.
Pay for the connection
Um,
before.
We can bill to 154 fine because you have that physical address as part of the, of the group. So
Okay.
we have an account that we can use for that and attach it to, which is our computer system allows us to do
that's
that.
how you,
Perfect.
because that sounds good to me.
Okay, then I'll go ahead and make a motion. To allow the connection fees for the Balfour Farm individual parcels to be paid individually before obtaining building permits.
And bill the
And to build do we need the account number for that, or?
I don't think we should.
Mr. Rick, you know,
154.
We build for the one,
Sewer's totally separate.
The one.
8-inch water.
Yeah, sorry.
Did you get that one?
You get that? A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Al, thank you.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll get to do that. Thank you so much.
that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
Thank you.
Unique and it's, everything with this project has been a little bit different.
I don't see a downside to it. you know,
There's no major,
like Jim says,
I
I
don't
think
agree.
we're gonna get our money eventually, but, you know, we're not gonna get it up front first, but we will get our money eventually,
It
and,
won't even be long, the way they're doing stuff is.
yeah. Well, it's a nice home to do.
it's majority of that is actually sewer,
Sure.
Yeah,
Um,
lovely,
you know, which again could change. If
$667,000 is so incredible.
definitely pull into.
Well, over to Green Street is just the water, right, from the road going through there.
There is gonna be
The
an
access
access path that's gonna be maintained, but it's not gonna be.
It's not gonna be a public way, it's public drive.
They are supposed to maintain that so that we can get in and out of this vehicle for maintenance purposes on the hydrants and stuff. I think it'll more or less be a dog path for connections from that property to the rail trail project that's over there.
All right, we'll go right into superintendent's updates.
Sure, go ahead, John.
All right, well,
Okay, John?
Yep. Yeah, cause he's not reading this.
Did you write it, John?
No. So I just wanted to give you guys an update. We mentioned, one of the previous meetings that we were having issues with, some of the generators. We actually had technicians come out, more than once for one site. Ended up being a road issue. It's actually, they're in the tunnels of the conduits and they're actually eating some of the wires, so at random it would start blowing fuses and operate in a way that wasn't normal. The transfer switch was trying to actually transfer generator power while I had line power. So, you know, it took a little bit, two calls with the technician, finally figured out what it was. And so now we have, made some changes to the surrounding area to, not make it conducive to be a home anymore. So gladly that was taken care of. The other issue with, the tow behind unit that we have for Hollywood Sewer Station, actually, oddly enough, a wire came unplugged. Was able to get to it until you took the whole unit apart, but it was a simple fix.
Good. like to hear that.
Yeah,
At least-
it's Murphy. The best news is that we actually had the new gas services installed at Knollwood.
Cut it out.
Nice.
Ah,
Knollwood has a new generator set, that's, our gas meter set in place, waiting for the connection to go to the generator. Holly does not have a gas meter yet. And once again, we're back to having no communication with them to find out when that's gonna happen. So, baby steps, but, you know, the services are in, that's, great news.
The generator that had the problem with the road, was that Red Mill doing?
It is not, that is, 157.
Red Mill, they had other problem, but it was pretty minor.
No, we had some water issues over there.
Right.
That we've
Really weird.
been dealing with, this high groundwater.
Oh, I know. Well, we're working on it.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have the same issue after tonight, tomorrow, so. But, yeah, thankfully, that station actually is working well, even when it has water in it.
Yeah, they were very attentive, the guys.
Good to hear. Yeah. We don't like seeing water where it doesn't belong.
Well,
But
if
that's as quick
if you're
as
not
possible.
familiar with the Red Mill Village pump station, it's kind of weird. The whole layout's kind of weird, and the fact that the pump station is on an area of fill, and there's high groundwater. And right below, behind the parking lot, it's a drop of maybe 10 feet. Makes no sense
Well,
whatsoever.
there's gotta be a layer of clay in there or
Gotta be.
something that's crazy.
It's gonna be a, teaching effect.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Speaking of wells, as I mentioned earlier, we actually moved ahead and, got very lucky with the cleaning over at well one. We had called our well driller and cleaner and he was actually available. He went right down and ended up pulling that apart. Had some issues getting it apart, which we've never had that problem before, so, took a little bit longer for the deconstruct on that. We actually had a jacked up part, which is kind of uncommon for that location. We've seen issues like that happen at well four where the casing is a little egg shaped, but never actually had that problem at well one, so. Something new to deal with. The motor and the drive are still there to be in good condition. We tested to make them out. The pump itself was worn as we anticipated, so we actually have another one on order. Possibly by the end of this month, we might see that and have that station back online. We took some early grab samples from the water that was being pumped out behind the manganese and testing them over at the water treatment facility using that lab. We actually came in very well. We came in with 0.13 for manganese, which for that location is well under, the 0.30 milligrams per liter for manganese.
Oh, yeah.
For the action level.
It could be indicative that the well's been offline for a while, but we took it directly after having it surged. So we're hoping that that's actually gonna be the new baseline to go with there, which would change the whole
Your optimism.
mess of things. Well, we know it's there, we just didn't get it that day. We'll try harder. So again, that's gonna hopefully be back on the line by the end of the month, used on an as needed basis, and unfortunately, right now, we do need it.
Have you ever seen manganese in a rock, out in the form?
In raw form?
Yeah.
No.
So it's just it looks like coal, well, I don't know if it looks like coal, but it's like, it's a, you know, element, so it's kind of like, and so it's a matter of where the water is. I mean, and, right, manganese is kind of like, it could be chunks all over the place, you know.
Yeah.
It's functional where I guess the water is, whether I pick it up or not.
Yeah, so I mean.
But sometimes you see the manganese in gravel pits.
Oh, really?
I
Okay.
have to see it in,
I've only seen it in the mains, where we don't wanna see it, but.
same thing with iron bog.
Mhm.
You've never seen it.
So, then, jump over to well three, it remains off as was recommended. We are, and have been, as we did earlier, discussing the permanent solutions there. We will be discussing sooner than later what we have to do, and we have to put that well back online. We had tanks offline for cleaning, and with the tank offline, with well one and three offline, it really puts a heavy layer of stress on the water treatment facility wells. So we've done what we can to basically change the operations of the system, rotating our storage tanks, using elevated storage tanks, you know, with quicker turnaround. You know, it's just not ideal to run the system for any prolonged period of time like we are now. It's, you know, you're asking for a problem at one of the other three sites that you're kind of stressing out a little bit. So, thankfully, with the weather finally getting colder, we've seen a decline in the fire pump test and the regular sprinkler tests that are going on. So that's taken a little bit of burden off of the stress that we've had there, off of the operational time. So we're down to about 17 hours a day, which, you know, typically now, if we had the other two wells on, we'd be 14, 15, you know, and be able to alternate, give each one a rest for a little bit longer period of time. So we just don't want to get ourselves in a situation where we're, you know, pulling water from different aquifers. It's, you know, we lose the filtration the longer we run the facility, the quality influence gets bigger, and you know, you could start pulling from places that you haven't before and see changes in water quality. So we do have some testing that we're going to do for THMs coming from the source, working with Weston, Sampson, and Ben. When we take our next rounds, because we have seen some increases in THMs in the distribution system as we did a few quarters ago. Multiple reasons for that, but we want to start at the source and make sure that, you know, we haven't had change in water quality that needs to be addressed at the source, and we're only catching it at the end. You know, so we're going to kind of backtrack and start a little bit of a different water quality analysis just to make sure that everything we're doing in the end makes sense, and, you know, make sure we're not missing something. The sites that the engineers can test for are not part of our sample plan, so they be done independent as a separate study. We're limited by what the sites that we can sample based on our approved sampling plan. So anytime we want to take something that's out of the realm of that approved plan, it has to be done by a separate party as an investigational study. So there is cost involved with that, obviously just for the testing alone, but for the engineering people to come out and actually physically take that from those locations. But it's all required. It's the process that we have to follow to do the work, and all of that will be put into reports when we continue to ask DEP for, you know, for leniency, for non-compliance, for everything, for leniency and possible, you know, lowering the pH level and stuff that we've talked to them about in the past. So everything will be used to, you know, kind of fight those battles. So we did see, I think I mentioned this at one of the previous meetings, that the THMs, we felt were going to be higher just based on the amount of chlorine that we've been adding. We did have an increase. We came in just below the MCL exceedance for the long running annual average. We did have a quarterly exceedance at the two locations. That's basically forms and paperwork that we fill out, send back to DEP along with the THM stage 2 disinfection byproduct form, explaining why we feel we've seen this increase and stuff. And it's basically the same thing we did quarters ago.
we fall back on the idea that running at a pH of 7.9 is just not, appropriate for our system. So we'll go from there. Hopefully our next round of samples in February, is more favorable as the water temperature is going to be much colder.
Do you do quarterly or do you do,
with water.
monthly?
So time will tell with that. We hope to have, I think we're gonna have Ben or somebody come out in that February sample round to take THM, so we have the information at the same time, but we still gotta work on that. John and I submitted the capital budgets. I know we had mentioned that we we're looking to replace a few vehicles. We've been very lucky with rebodying and reworking two of our trucks that we've been able to keep around now. This will be going into the second year. One of them, we actually replaced the pickup bed on it. It was completely rotted. Did some other welding on the vehicle to keep it so be safe on the road, pass inspection. That one there is actually going to move to the water treatment facility, and the small car that we used to have is actually going to go up for auction to replace that. That's got some structural rot underneath that's getting there on top of the mileage. We've put in the capital plan that we're looking to get a cabin chassis, basically no bodies, pretty stripped down model. And what we're gonna look to do, again, to save money, is take parts off of our other 1-ton dump truck that we have. We replaced the dump body on that maybe 3 years ago. So that's in good shape, and we're also gonna swap the plow. So we can do that work in-house, and that'll save us not only thousands of dollars, but it'll actually save us probably a year in turnaround time. Just because trucks are really extremely difficult to come by. So we have a quote in for that with a request. We are looking to replace one of the pickups. Unfortunately, this last round of inspections we were told, and things were pointed out to us of vehicles that we saw in the past next year. So we're going to continue moving forward with pickups, and unfortunately, they're just not cheap. We talked about looking at possibly an electric vehicle as an option, and by the time we look at the electric vehicle itself, a charging system somewhere, because it has to be Steve would know what the high speed charging system.
And you need a gas generator in case that,
Yes,
perhaps,
yeah, we would need that. Toby had unit. So the cost for that, as nice as it would be to go green and try something different, just isn't working, especially with the budget numbers where they are now. So looking at replacing another utility body with a plow, I think that came in. Remember that?
I think it was over 70, it was 70, some high 70s, I think.
So nothing like it used to be. And then we're also looking at the possibility of replacing our large dump truck. So that truck was spec'd incorrectly from the beginning. It's 295 International 6-wheel dump. It's a very light truck. It was basically probably a landscaper truck. And, for the amount of loads that we carry in order to keep it safe and actually drivable, you have to take 3 to 4 times the amount of trips as you would in a truck that was spec'd with the right suspension. So it's time. It's got low mileage on it.
3 to 4 times as much fuel to do.
Can you trade that in?
So we are not allowed to trade.
Why?
We've been told we're not allowed to. Everything has to go to municipal. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why?
Is he vehicle, what they?
That's another question, yeah.
Imagine what you get for it.
Yeah, so we hope that we see a decent number come in on municipal bid. We do have the option of setting a minimum bid.
See, this got brought up to me with another truck that we had in stock. We were asked why we didn't trade it in. I never knew that was an option.
I've been told it wasn't an option. Maybe it is, and we are just not privileged to that information. I don't know what you get for it, and we're looking at trucks that are other than international. We looked at Peterbilt, because we got less Peterbilt, so
We got new ones or just,
we have to go new. Yeah, we can't buy guys do, okay? So we looked at Mack, Peterbilt, and Western Star, and the Mack actually came in at the lowest price, and it's, for that one,
gotta be 6 figures anyway, right?
it is.
150?
It's like 150.
I can't get the sewer budget to come up on it. I got the water budget.
Definitely not cheap. What we're looking to do there, and I've already talked to the town accountant about it, because it's used by both departments, we're looking to do some kind of a split on the cost. So we'll probably do like a 75-25 split between water and sewer. there's no sense of buying a separate dump truck, you know, that size for sewer, even though it could be used for it, where all our technicians are, we work at both departments.
So with the truck with everything we would need would be 201,500.
Question, and I guess this applies to anything we're buying, do we need to consider, or are there any implications with the looming DPW? And if we buy this truck, or all of a sudden the highway department will forward and say, hey, we're taking that truck.
We've had no direction under that.
We've heard nothing about what's gonna happen with the DPW. So we are progressing forward as if,
I was watching one of the select board meetings and they seemed to, a couple of the members seemed to be pretty gung ho to get that going sooner than later, because they feel that since the town voted for it, and it's been 2 years, they shouldn't shelf it and kick it down the road.
there definitely should be discussions about it.
If that happens, it'll be sooner than later, but I'm just, what I'm getting at is, do we want money from them too for a truck like this, if they're gonna, you know?
Stop volunteering to help.
Yeah, I honestly don't think that they would pitch in any money towards it, even if we asked.
Yeah.
You know, I think specifically it would still be something that the water and sewer would use. We do share some equipment as needed. You know, it's always been that way. I don't think anything's gonna change. You know, if they have a truck that's down, we want ours and vice versa.
I know.
So I think, something about, you know, moving forward, that it may take a while for that to actually come and get locked in place and everything gets figured out. It doesn't do us any better to sit on it. Right now, we've been told, one of the time to act is now, and we've heard this from a couple different people. The next round of trucks that's gonna come out, 2025 and 6 are gonna have a different level of emission removal on it. Oh, so you're adding maybe 10,000 or 12,000 to the price.
We need to beat that.
So that's kind of what people are saying, get our trucks now, even if you don't get the increased model year. It's still a brand new truck, even if you've got one that's, you know, just hasn't made it to production yet. But you really don't wanna start dealing with first gen new regulations for restrictions. You know, the first model is always an issue, and, you know, that would just be possible for us. I think if it was determined that we could purchase it and the only option available was the newer model, we actually may put it off for a year. Let all parts get worked out as it were, so. But definitely some stuff on the table, some big numbers. We're also even throwing the opportunity of looking at replacing the electronic, emergency road signs that we have. We purchased those back on 03. And we talked about that, the $4,000 or $5,000 a piece back then. I think they're down to like.
You can't replace the individual cell anymore, right? Yeah.
It's not worth putting money into them.
They trade in?
I don't know, maybe Mansfield needs some. So also the deadline for the town meeting articles is soon approaching. I think we mentioned this before, we were looking at possibly reallocating funds, or putting an article together to ask if the town will approve us to reallocate funds. I believe there's some money left over from the Rural 5 and 6 borrowing that was in place.
When's that deadline?
It is pretty close, I think February 7th. And there were other articles that John and I were discussing, and of course, I was reminded me this afternoon. There's money that was appropriated for stuff that is no longer a necessity. So one of them that comes to mind is back in 2019, we asked for 200,000 for water main cleaning, for mechanical cleaning. And that was basically in place if the clean water from the water treatment facility and the aggressive flushing program didn't do its job, we have a backup to that. I could physically go in and scrape the mains. We've been very lucky. to get
Pay as
water.
the ice, the
Some, yeah, ice picking or something like that. So we haven't had to use that. It's foolish to let it sit there and go unused. So we may look at writing some articles to reallocate those funds to something else. Obviously, maybe upcoming PFAS investigation. You know, it's already been approved. I think it's time to reallocate it and actually use it. Instead of having it just sit there unused. Yeah, you know, 200, if we use that line item, 200,000 isn't gonna go a long way, but it's a step in the right direction. We can always add more to it later, or possibly clean up another article that may have some funds left in it, just to clean the books up a little bit.
Okay.
The next thing would be, the rate study. We talked about that a little bit, we went back and forth with, the company that would do the study, and we talked to them and mentioned, the looming unknowns of PFAS and what the cost may be. It's still up in the air right now. I think we should probably move forward with the rate study for both the water and sewer departments to understand where we are now, especially after the pandemic. Make sure that we're still trending in the right direction, make sure, that projects that we're looking forward down the road, we have enough funds there for. And more than likely, maybe a year from now or less, we may have to do another rate study once we actually get a final number on what a facility or facilities will cost to be built for PFAS. I think throwing a little bit of money away now to make sure we're trending in the right direction is probably the best direction to go. And, look at it again later.
When's the last time we did a rate study?
It was 3 years ago, I believe. We were just coming up on the end of it. It might have been longer than that, actually.
Is there a report of that?
We presented prior to COVID.
Yeah, it was
So,
before.
that one Barbara was here.
Before me. So is there a publication that was presented?
I'm sure I can find something.
I'd be curious what it looked like, and then we should aim for a date to. I mean, is there something like, would you aim for July 1st to implement it? Would that be the time one does that?
I don't remember the length of time it took to go through the rate study before. I know there was quite a bit of information that we had to compile, from the office and get to the auditor. But I don't remember how that all worked out. It was
I
quite a
think
while
we
ago.
started with the draft or so, but these are usually, so you hire a third party last time and, about 3 to 6
Is there a
months.
company that does it?
There is a company, yeah. It was a lengthy process. if I
Yeah,
remember
and then we present it to the public and then, so that, I mean, you pay higher prices if you want it fresh. but it's-
We put out the bid, or we just hire a third company.
It's all based on the cost, and the costs using the same company that we did before, come in under the requirement to go out and get the 3 quotes and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Right. To me, it makes sense to use a company we've used in the past, they're familiar with what we have, they would have all the baseline
I was
information.
gonna say, they probably have a database already of everything.
Right.
That makes sense to me.
So we ask for proposal from them, and then we go on the scope and. So, I think we should do it, so.
Was that Abram,
It
Abramson?
was, yeah, Mark Abrams.
Yeah, not Abram, yeah.
So just wanna make sure you guys are comfortable with it. I mean, it could be throwing a little bit of money away right now, but it'd give us a baseline to know that we're on track, or that we're not on track as we move forward with some of these larger projects.
I'd like to
that
see
we're
what-
doing.
What it would be just to do that, because we know we're gonna need to do it again. We definitely need to do it again.
But imagine this rate study comes up with our rates, we would compare it to other towns with comparable size to make sure we're not.
The
They update.
The last one that I saw did have comparisons in there.
If your surrounding communities are similar size, I know what you mean.
Okay, makes sense.
I only say that because if we raise the rates high enough, people will just leave Norton and move into Mansfield.
No, we just went up on our rates.
Although, moving somewhere else, west or something.
It's all a delicate balance here.
I'll jump in before I let somebody else go, because we come up reading. We have an abatement request. Yes, this is kind of unique. It's coming in from the Norton Glen Company LLC.
Yeah, we have stuff.
Okay. So basically, there was an error in I believe it's lockbox, Brooke?
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, payment was applied to an account and delinquency was on another one. So it left a very small amount as delinquent, and it's continued to
Yeah, it's been rolling through every.
small amounts of interest.
Say it, and those ones.
So to clean that, error by others up, the request is there, from us to abate the interest amount for account 3172, $43.84.
Okay, with that? Steve?
Yep.
Okay, I make a motion to abate the interest amount for account 3172 in the amount of $43.84.
I second,
All in favor?
Aye.
yeah, that's an easy one.
Yeah, that was in one.
That didn't hurt.
Again, no brainer, error on somebody else's part happens, somebody else in a while, we can clean it up.
It doesn't happen a lot. They don't see these a lot. so
It doesn't.
it's-
That type of error is uncommon, thankfully.
Okay, Okay.
Frank, one other thing,
Yeah.
you didn't mention anything about meters. Where are we on the whole meter thing? Thought we were gonna do something to move that forward.
We haven't had a chance to even look at that.
All right, let's talk about it next month.
We have some issues with some of the meters that are in place now that have actually, we found a few leaks. And the company that we use, Neptune, knew about the leaks and has made some modifications and actually made some modified parts that can be installed on their meters. Once a
The
leak is
meters are
found,
leaking?
the base plate is leaking. So there's a problem with the casting where the freeze
The
plate
grease plate?
meets the meter.
Yep.
So they've changed the design and go into a hard plastic type
Mhm.
freeze plate that will still do its job, but it actually conforms to the differences
Oh.
in the
Nice.
body. So they've known about it. We've come across a handful of them. And we are able to send them back and get a base plate for it or possibly a discount on a meter for the ones that obviously haven't been in forever. So unique situation.
Joe taking care of it?
Joe is taking care of it. We are still looking at moving forward to the newer style, radio read system. We've spoken to, the company that the town wants us to transfer our software to, and it seems like that is the most common change that others have done, so they're very familiar with that, Norton 360. I don't know what we have for options, but I'm told that all of the end user accounts are supposed to be compatible with it. I haven't verified that information yet, so if down the road we want to look at going with like an ultrasonic pulse meter, more than likely, if everything I'm told is true, we could use that with our existing system or with the 360 system. So it'll give us some options with some of the larger meters. Unfortunately, those are paid for by the resident or by the property owner. So,
Understanding.
but yeah, I mean, we were gonna have that meeting when the holidays came up and just,
Yep, we can set it up.
Put it on the,
list. It is on the list. Okay.
All right, Steve, you wanna?
Absolutely. And look at the something to do. All right, sewer update. Frank already updated you on Norwood and Holly. But it's such good news. I'll update you also, since they finally put those, gas services in, on January 3rd. And as Frank said, they installed the meter at Norwood, and we're down to just finding out when they're gonna install the meter at Holly. And John, was it, your dad's contact or your contact was in the meter department, wasn't he? Wasn't he the one that was able to help us before? So maybe,
Yeah, I believe so. I believe we tried I had sent it to you and I think you tried contacting him about getting the actual gas services put in and he.
not his
didn't really
department.
Having, but he might be able to help us with.
Yeah.
Where we are now.
Yeah, instead of just waiting weeks. I mean, they could get the call tomorrow that they're gonna be out there next week, but it's more likely we won't. So yeah, if we can just follow up with that, we'll work with you guys, because we have his contact information. You had given it to us before, so we'll look to push that along. We did talk to Ardent, the contractor. They were anxious to move forward. There was talk of them, and we told them to communicate with you guys, probably with Bruno, about mobilizing their excavator. I don't know if they did it today or not, but they were talking about potentially, they did mobilize it?
Yeah.
Okay. So they're talking about either by the end, later this week or next week, doing the work at Knollwood. And then it's just a matter of, if we can get that meter at Holly ready, they'll move over and do that. So things are happening there. Be nice to wrap that one up. Cobb Street, phase 1. Since the last meeting, the breaker was installed. The talk at the last meeting was they were trying to figure out how long they needed to shut the station down and how they were gonna handle flow, and my understanding is they did it without having to shut the station down, which is what we thought they'd be able to do. So the breaker is in. I believe the only thing left is to install the thermostat, but the generator is running now. is my understanding. And functioning. They need to get, so once they install the thermostat, they'll also get that temporary generator out of there that's still on site. So that's my understanding on Cobb Street Phase 1, and we're staying on them. My understanding is that this all is gonna happen soon. They're as anxious as anyone to be done out there and try and get their retainage and be done. So Cobb Street Phase 2, the work inside the wet well. So since the last meeting, you guys had signed the contracts. So Frank issued the notice to proceed. We have the executed notice to proceed with an official start date of December 29th. They had the pre-con today. I know Will Chandler from our office was out there, and I think he said both John and Frank, you guys were both there. Sounds like they're looking to get started in February is their current plan. And prior to that, they do want to get back out there with a better entry system to get someone into the wet well. So they'll have to coordinate that work, but they do want to get someone in there to look at the walls. So they're going to go through that process. They weren't ready to do that today. So anyway, that project is also moving forward. So the peer reviews, we talked about Balfour Farms, obviously, that was a major focus of today's meeting, so things have moved along on that. The other two peer reviews, you have the Zero Reservoir Street. We've sent our agreement over and have had some correspondence back and forth, so they haven't sent us back the signed agreement for us to do the peer review. But we expect to see that and be able to do that. And then the Mansfield Ave one, they did send us, I just yesterday got the retainer check and the signed contract for us to do the peer review of that. So that's the one where they're proposing, as requested by the commission, they've designed a gravity sewer to run down Mansfield Ave and connect where the West Main Street project had left off there at Route 123. So we have a contract in place to do that peer review, so we'll get on that and should be able to, over the next couple of weeks, get through that and get something back to Frank to look at and go from there. So I think those are the three peer reviews that have been ongoing. Elm Street, we're continuing to make progress on. We're working on the design report as well as the preliminary design. So we'll have some more information to report on that. I think at some point, Frank, we're going to need to do a meeting out there with you and maybe someone from other town departments to talk about. The biggest thing is the siting of where we're going to site the pump station. We've got a couple ideas. There's actually we'd always talked about the end of Miller Terrace where it connects to the highway property where now the new municipal complex is. It is a little higher over there. The lowest point is out on Elm Street, and the owner of the property at the lowest point is Wheaton College, which is kind of interesting and something that I was going to talk that we might want to talk to and revisit, go back to our friends over there who we've dealt with. At least we know who to deal with over there. There might be a viable option there, but I don't have a lot more on that right now, other than we're going to start looking at that and talking about who we need to talk to in terms of the location. You mentioned town meeting. We do need to be ready to put an article in for this, for the construction. We have the MassWorks construction grant, $3.5 million, which will go a long way. That's about, should be more than half of the construction cost of the project. It's about half of the estimate right now. So I think you had said, Frank, February 7th, I jotted down.
That's today.
All right, so we need to confirm that and get something. So I think getting an article and a placeholder is the easy part. The tougher part is getting a favorable vote when it's time to vote. So there'll need to be some meetings prior to the town meeting itself, some public outreach to explain what, how this would work, where the money's gonna come from and all of that. So we've got to make some progress on that in January and February here so that we can get some numbers out there to people. Make sense? Also, finally trying to wrap up the work that we were doing for the schools, basically just to give them some costs on, modifying. So now they still want to do some more modifications to the sewer connection down at the Yale and the high school, get rid of those septic tanks and modify those connections. Also giving them some numbers on what it would take to connect the middle school, which again, as we've discussed before now, with all the infrastructure that's in place that used to, take the force main from the high school, pretty easily they could convert that treatment plant to a pump station and pump it up to the housing authority, the town's pump station at the housing authority. So anyway, we're wrapping those numbers up. I talked to Wade between Christmas and New Year's. I talked to him a little bit just to give him an update of where we were at. Wade Lizotte. And that does fold right into the Valentine brothers who were in last month, and the commission had authorized us to run some numbers for that. I think when we finish the numbers for the schools in terms of getting that pump station converted, we can then look at running some numbers for how that might impact, the Valentine brothers. And, we might be in a position to bring the school department and and those guys together in terms of the cost of the project. There could be an alternative going forward with some cost sharing, where they could find a way to get into the sewer, which is what they were asking about. But anyway, just as an update on that. So since the last meeting, he did send us the plans that he had when he went before Concom. So we have the plans on the Valentine property that we'll be able to use to look at how that might be able to connect to the system at the middle school, whether it go through the back or come down 123. So that's an update, I think, on everything on the sewers. Any questions?
Thanks,
Thank you,
Steve.
Steve.
Excellent.
All right, Tara, you are up.
All right, I'm gonna keep it brief because there's not really a lot going on over the winter. So we talked a little bit about THMs and PFAS at the last meeting, and, we're going to continue to work with the water department on getting out there with the sampling plan for February, also working with them on the response to the NON for the PFAS with DEP. We did receive fully executed contracts for the Cottage Street aeration design, the storage study, system-wide storage study, and the elevated tank design contract, plus the construction services for South Worcester Street. So we're discussing funding opportunities right now through the ARPA, but we do intend to bid sooner than later. And we just need to kind of work that out with town hall on how to proceed with that. We did reach out to the highway department, got some feedback on final paving for those two roadways, and are going to incorporate that into our specs as a bid alternate, very similar to what we did with Pine Street. So we had it set up in there to bid for the contractors to quote for that. And if the town's contract with their paving companies is cheaper, we'll remove that from the bidding bid alternate and not award it, and work with the highway department as we did last time, and have their paver come out and have it paid for it. So methods to save some money there, and we'll go from there. Other than that, we'll prepare, at the very least, we'll meet with the water department prior to the next commissioners meeting about meters a little bit, discuss a little bit the transition of the billing system as well. Give some insight on that to provide you, because it's not easy. So,
Any more talk about the mixing system?
As far as the tank aeration, or,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, look, there's a couple options for that, but the intent is to just design that and get it out. So we just need to get some plans together and put a document together for bidding and have our electricians come out to the site, check the electrical requirements and what we might need there. At this point, we're anticipating that there's enough power out there that we can just,
Shouldn't be much of anything, really, just a mix.
well, it's an aeration system, so it's a little bit different than just kind of like your little 3B sit on the floor of the tank. And this is for the aeration system is for the large 2 million gallon tank, not the elevated half of it. So it's a little bigger, but it's, again, it's just need to check out there. You have a pump station. We're assuming that there's an additional circuit. We don't have to do major electrical design upgrades, but
That was another like 2 years ago. I'd say 2 years, probably 15.
yeah,
Thanks for that.
Yeah, like a few,
that's what we get out there,
Years
but
ago.
nothing.
Yeah, it was 9 years ago.
So, yeah, we'll do a preliminary design, look at it all. But yeah, the anticipation is to hopefully get that wrapped up and be out to bid and then award, have all the parts in and have it up and running next year. I should say ready. Who knows what delays could be, so, yeah. And that's it, unless you have questions on any other topics.
You got anything, Tom?
A lot of work ahead of us.
I don't think so.
Sorry, keep it. Think so. You don't have anything to say about letting go?
We sent off our lead and copper results today. We don't have 60 samples, we have 55, so we'll be putting something on our CCR about that. And so that's great. And we also are conducting some interviews this week for some openings. Nice. One we have right now, and one that will probably be getting posted very shortly.
Is this an addition or did we lose somebody?
We had another gentleman retire. Dave finally retired.
Dave Fisher retired?
Dave Fisher retired.
Oh,
Look at that, knows him by name.
Yes.
42 years and
Yes.
5 months.
So do you want to work part-time?
He probably will.
Oh, he's been here forever.
He has that.
So our building's probably one of the last ones he worked at. I put in the meter report.
Yeah, it was one of the last ones.
We heard from Howard?
He's doing well, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
yeah, you heard.
I've heard
And
it.
well, we got him here for once in a while.
So I got the,
Oh, we had an issue already.
Yeah, there was a conflict.
I have a conflict with the 13th, but I mean the 6th, actually the
Actually-
6th.
Before you get to that, I have a quick question.
Oh, Shirley,
Have you guys heard from the Island Brook people? No, recently.
That's a good one, Jim.
The reason I ask is because there is a public hearing with the planning board on the 17th for Island Brook to apply for a 40B. I saw that in the paper, I meant to bring it quick.
That's not gonna be Main Street.
Yeah, it's East Main Street.
How are they gonna
Possibly
hook
the
up,
same one,
how are
right?
they gonna hook up to sewer?
I don't know, but
Or
we
water.
already have a 40B. and
They're
does that
gonna
mean
a lot
they
of work,
expire
they're gonna hook their water main.
and reapply?
got a lot of work
I
to
was
do.
just curious if I saw that in the paper, I was like, oh, maybe they're gonna be active again, so it might.
Well, they have a problem,
Hearing for them.
they don't even want to do it, but.
Yeah, I
Like that.
know. Anyway,
They have
some
to-
to look forward to maybe this year. Right, that was it.
So you're a problem with the 13th?
Yeah, I'll be away.
That's a Tuesday?
Yep, I'll be away the 9th to the 14th, actually.
Wow. Well, maybe it is, never-
Panama City, baby.
Well, so I'm going from the 7th to the 24th.
Want to do the 6th?
Well, that's a possibility.
What is that?
I'm very happy about it.
Okay.
Is that a
Articles are due on the 7th. If that's true, Frank, that might make sense.
Oh, actually, if that's the case, then, yeah, that probably would make sense, right?
What's that?
If the town meeting articles are due on the 7th,
Oh, yeah,
they can give us a meeting before they're due, right?
As long as I'm right with the numbers.
what do you think?
Works for me, I guess.
Well, let's fly, let's, we'll get any problems, we'll just talk to each other,
Yeah, that's okay.
one at a time,
We'll leave them there.
not together.
I won't be able to make that one.
Why?
I'll find some excuse.
I'm sure.
Okay. It's gonna clean the lid out of the dryer.
Well,
It's a fire hazard.
So that, you want to do them the 6th?
The 6th sounds good.
Or 6, video.
All right.
So, your appointment letter,
Mhm.
Did you know anything other than you submitted it?
No, I haven't heard anything from it. Did you see that email? Probably you on that. They asked me to write a letter to request appointment for, because my term ends in the day of the election, I think, officially is the last day. So I penned a letter and I copied you and Frank on it, and, sent the copy requesting appointment. I haven't heard anything. I have not.
We have to appoint you.
We have nothing to
The
do with
select-
it.
select
No,
board,
it's
right?
select board, yeah. So the town manager, or maybe just the select board. I don't know. I think it's just them. Probably just the board. I'm sure they'll get to it. They, like I said, they were talking about the DPW in the last meeting, so. Sure, they'll figure it out.
All right, no, the sixth it is. All right, Jim,
All right, then, I would like to make a motion, or make a motion to adjourn this evening meeting.
I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you very much.
Thank you, John.